Hey guys, Blue here, and we're really excited to show you Serenity's deck. So, again, coming off the trend, we did the duel, Serenity versus Nesbit, because she was the new deck, and he was her opponent. Any duel that involves the 3-on-1, we could see in the future. We're not going to guarantee it, but it's something, Delta and I have at least been considering, but just, to answer that question. So, Serenity, again, like Taya, had one duel in the virtual world. We got to see a couple of her cards. We got enough of a feel for her deck that we were able to complete her deck and build her 40-card deck. Even despite the limited number of cards she played. And Serenity's deck, like Taya's deck, features a lot of female monsters. That's how the characters were going with the decks. But also, like Taya, and then also like all the big 5 decks we've done previously, and again, those deck profiles are around. We built her Deckmaster effect into her deck. This helps supplement her lack of cards, especially because, and since she played a few cards, she doesn't have as many strategies. Yugi, Kaiba, Joey played more cards. We had to see the strategies and their combos. Plus, we know what they do and how they play from all the seasons we see them. So, Serenity and Taya, we filled it with their deck masters to give them a little more substance and filling. So, also, what's interesting quickly, just not that's really relevant, but Serenity actually plays no normal monsters. That I just think is interesting, considering everyone has normal monsters except for Serenity. She has the effect ones actually work better. So we're gonna start off 2 Fire Princess. So this deck is gonna be a lot of duplicate cards, but 2 Fire Princess. Actually, it does work great with Marie the Fallen one because you're gonna gain the life points. You're gonna hit your opponent for damage. So it's something I believe it was just set face down, but which is why there's only 2 instead of 3. But it actually does work in her deck. She did have Scroll of Bewitchment in her deck as well, but in the anime we took that out because it was kind of a card that was seen and has no real purpose in her deck. It does not do anything for her. So, to Fire Princess. This next card is actually not a card she played. It's one of the cards we threw in just a little bit to kind of fill out her theme, and it has nothing to do with her deck master effect. But we just threw in 2 Goddess of Whim. Her deck master and what she worked with was Goddess with the 3rd eye. We just arbitrarily picked this one. The effect isn't bad because it can give her a 1900 attack monster to work with. It's a female, it's also a fairy. So we went with it that we kind of thought it kind of felt a little bit like Serenity, but no real reason of, either effect or anything. But so this was arbitrarily, we liked it in there. Next up, her deck master, 3 copies, Goddess with the 3rd eye. So, the actual card, she's just another one of the fusion sub cards. Takes the place of any monster in a fusion, which only works in fusions where they don't specifically state it needs to be those 2 cards. So if it just is one of the more simple fusions, like her, fusion takes the place. And with 3 copies of Goddess and 3 of each of the fusion materials, there's a lot of potential for her to make those fusions. The Deckmaster effect for Goddess with the 3rd eye was more or less like a fusion gate. Like, she can make a fusion summon with the monster's effect, no need for polymerization. And I might have just given away what her Deckmaster effect card is in this deck. But going on with, card she's played, Lady Panther. So 14, 13, and that effect can come in handy. You can offer it to get a monster back that, was destroyed this turn. So overall, it's not actually the worst, card. It's not obviously as great as say Teia's Gemini elves. But what is cool is that it does have effect, and in some playing, Delta and I have actually used this effect. So overall, it's not. It's probably like an average character deck card, right? Now, Marie the Fallen One, and there's 3. So this is the only tribute in her deck. Interestingly enough, she does not really have tributes. 1700 attack makes it her strongest monster before any other card effects or anything else. And again, it is one of the 2 parts of the fusion that she has, and has actually that nifty effect that when it's in the graveyard, you gain life points, and then if you throw in Fire Princess, that actually is a small combo that does do stuff. Shadow Tamer was a card she played. Again, it's the female monster, and a lot of the virtual world stuff was working out of Labyrinth of Nightmare. So, you see a lot of cards from that. A little bit of Legacy of Darkness was, I'd say, not most of it, but a good. If you had to narrow down the virtual world cards to only a few packs where they would come from, I'd go with those 2. So her effect doesn't really help in the Nesbit duel because she takes control of fiend monsters. She would be great against Bakura, but this doesn't help much at all. And with 800, 700, it's not really a contender for much. And part 2 of her fusion, the Forgiving Maiden, 850, 2000. So this is her defensive wall. It works, for the St. Joan fusion. It makes, it helps give her defense. And its effect is almost the same as Lady Panther, except Forgiving Maiden, you contribute it to return the monster to your hand. Lady Panther puts it back on top of your deck. So with both cards, one says hand, one says deck. But if you pick the St. Joan fusion, it returns to the extra deck because it cannot go to your hand, and obviously that's the deck where it goes to. So it can reuse St. Joan. So not really much more about that. It's a lot of fairies, female monsters, fairies. What's her thing? Some other stuff too. Shadow Tamer's a warrior, Marie's a fallen one, and this next lady is a spellcaster. The ever so popular / banned Witch of the Black Forest. So overall, pretty good card for Serenity's deck because you can search out just about all her monsters, and then especially with Goddess of the Third Eye or Marie the Fallen One, at least those 2 can be searched, and that helps get her her fusion summoning on the way a little bit faster. And that's it for her monsters. You see, there's not a huge variety that she played. Even a couple that have similar effects. Fusion cards. It's what she what she kind of worked with. Not that she has a lot, but it's a small kind of thing she has going on. All right, so spells. The first spell card is not one she played, but this is meant to represent her deck master effect, and we think it does it better than almost any other card. Is Fusion Gate, like I said, because it allows you to make the fusions without polymerization, which is what Gosh the Third Eye did. The one downside is that they had to be banished and not sent to your graveyard, so you can't get them back. But through a variety of combinations, you do have the possibility to make St. Joan a couple times because her deck does have cards which let you put it back in the extra deck. But Fusion Gate, so that's her deck master effect, more or less. There's no reason to really... This one worked out nicely. It's one card, almost the same effect, unlike some of the ones like in the big five, like Reflector Hole or Clear the Courtroom. To give us some help, 2 Graceful Chariots. Again, like Taya, we went with Graceful over Pot just because it gives her a draw card that debatably maybe helps fit her theme better than just everyone having Pot of Greed. So, but this one is a card she did play, and it's Magic Reflector, not necessarily played, but had. And because it's a card she uses, we have 3 copies of it. It really doesn't do much. It puts a spell counter on a face-up spell card, and in her deck, it's really just all she has is that Fusion Gate. It puts a spell counter on that card, and if it would be destroyed, the counter is destroyed instead. So, not the most useful card, because, you know, you have to have it with Fusion Gate, and then your opponent has to be in a position to destroy it, which doesn't happen too often in anime duels. There's not a huge amount of spell and trap removal, but it's you know, it's a card she had, and it actually does have applications, unlike Scroll of Bewitchment, which really didn't do anything for her. So we completely omitted that card from her deck because it serves no purpose. And then Monster Reborn, 2 polymerizations, which she didn't actually have because she had her Gods of the Third Eye to make that fusion, but to reinforce her deck being fusion themed, also because that is her strongest monster and her only strong monster being St. Joan, 2 polymerizations. So this deck has a lot of ways to make St. Joan, and when we were doing testing, to no surprise of ours, we made St. Joan quite a lot. Okay, we did throw one in here actually to really help her deck get going along. Pot of Greed. I know we were looking for more of the Graceful Charity, but we did throw in just one to give her deck a little extra, you know, draw, because the deck does not have a lot. If you can't get St. Joan, you really don't have anything to win with, and that's kind of the problem. So, you know, the deck needed little helping hands here and there. 2 Scapegoats. Not a card she played, but it's a card Joey played, and to help give her some defense, we threw in the card that is most notably used by her big brother. So that was actually a little bit on our part of it gives her defense, and it ties her in to Joey. And that's the only card where we really did that, because Serenity played, you know, 1 duel, and because it was a 3-on-1, she played even less cards. And then, like Taya, we threw in 2 Wabaku as a generic defensive card. It had made appearances in the anime in various places, so we felt it wasn't too detached, too unbelievable of a card. I mean, I think this is our deck. This is how we want to build it. If you guys have something different, you know, feel free to build it your way. But this is the direction we want to take it to kind of fill it in. Like Esperoba's deck, like Odeon's deck, like a lot of character decks, we want to bring them to life, but the characters did not have enough cards shown in the anime, so we fill it in with cards that help their strategies, fit their theme, but nothing super, you know, OP, nothing that they definitely wouldn't have played, like a Serenity deck with Exceed or Synchros. Like, that just kind of, to us, kills the very old school anime feel. So Wabaku works, and then really random, but we just kind of, again, like they want to put in there, was in the last card of your deck is just 2 Numerous Healers, which does, it gives you back life points, and if you have another one in your graveyard, you get more life points. That's all it really does. Kind of, again, the whole, you know, female card thing. It's not a monster, but the character depicted in the card is this female, this nurse with wings, so it's even fairy-like. We felt it kind of, you know, we could see her playing this. This does not seem out of place for us to be her to be playing this, so we threw it in. And that's it for Serenity's main deck. Again, she didn't play any really super powerful cards or anything crazy unique. Actually, my favorite card she played was probably Gods with the Third Eye, because I do like that, and Kaiba has Versago, one of his decks, and then, you know, all those really cool fusion sub monsters. I like the artwork in those. They kind of made those cards have a nice, you know, look to them and little character and personality, despite being fusion subs. All right, and the last card in her deck is Saint Joan. Like I've been saying the whole time, this was her ace. She brought this out with her Deckmaster effect. 8 stars, 2800, 2000. It's a light fairy. No effect, just 2800 attack. And this is how she won, because, you know, Duke used Strike Ninja's effect to activate Tristan's face down card. By the way, I will quickly interject since I was talking about Tristan and Duke, because they went along with her. We built Tristan and Duke a while ago. Duke's deck is labeled as a hybrid deck because it combines cards from multiple seasons. They don't even make that much of his Virtual World cards because he played a lot of dice cards, like Dice Pool and Orgoth the Relentless, and those aren't printed, hopefully, yet, hopefully. But we also have Tristan's deck, but at some point we would like to bring the 3 of them in against Nesbit, and we'll see how that goes. Maybe kind of awkward. But anyway, this has been Serenity's deck profile. You know, again, it's a nice deck. It's there. We have all the heroes now from Virtual World. Stay tuned for the next video, which will be the last of the big 5 versus heroes, Kaiba versus Lecter. And Kaiba was the one that they were all initially after because he screwed them in Kaiba Corp, and Lecter was the one to take him on. Kaiba had a few duels after Lecter, and maybe we'll see one of those. But stay tuned for the next video, the next duel, Kaiba versus Lecter. Blue Eyes versus Jinzo, I guess, if I were to summarize it in 2 cards. So, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on Facebook. See you guys.